And so David Common joins us now from Montreal. David, what does it feel like there right now?
Well, a bit tear gassy, frankly, Adrienne. As Andrew mentioned, it was used very quickly, probably within about 10 or 15 minutes of that final goal being scored in that overtime period, which saved the Canadiens for at least one more game in these Stanley Cup finals. You see in behind me, the police continue to be out very much in force on these streets, but those revelers, those die-hard fans, they were ecstatic after that goal, pouring out into the streets, out of the bars which have people in them once again, the hotels which have people in them once again. And so very much this has seemed like the end of a weekend of reawakening here.
Like popping a bottle of champagne, Montreal's opening has come with a bang. The pressure of the pandemic bubbling away with music, culture, and just being able to do this.
I honestly felt like it was going to be 5 years until I was going to be able to do this again. So it means that we see the light at the end of the tunnel, really. And we're finally able to bring back the cultural scene that is so incremental to Montreal.
It's not all back, mind you. The party has boundaries, an assigned carpet in this case to keep the ecstatic somewhat apart. Still,
that's going to bring the life back to the city.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Feels great to be back in front of a natural crowd.
Human crowd.
Yeah.
And then, well, there's hockey. The Habs never expected to get this far this season, but they've come farther than at any point in 3 decades. Scores!
Plain bagel, coffee, and original sesame.
At the city's famed Saint-Viateur bagel, the doughy goodness looked a bit different lately. Yum.
We're crazy for the Habs here. Like all the guys, go Habs, go. So we go. Let's make some Canadian logo, and we just made a few just for us here inside, and they posted the picture, and it made a buzz.
So no, it's going to be interesting because
Steve Bonspiel and Ottawa Jacobs share that Habs fever. Tonight, they're watching their second game of the playoffs inside the arena. But also tonight, when the anthem plays, they will take a stand, as they have once before, by sitting.
because I want people to know that things aren't all right in Canada. You know, we're not being treated equally in our own country, in our own homeland. So how's that going to change? You're going to have that kind of conversation. Which is good.
Steve and Anawa are members of the Ganawage community. 3 of her 4 grandparents were forced to attend residential school. That experience muddled their joy of meeting each other there, even getting married there, but at the great cost of separation from family, community, and culture.
They don't really talk about what's happened there. You know, we honor them, and it's just too hard for them to talk about what they went through. Yeah. I think they'll be silent.
People are complex, and celebration for hockey can coexist with generational pain.
Yeah, I think that whole black and white thing where it's like, oh, you know, it's either this or or that. Nobody's life is like that. So of course ours isn't, you know. So we're able to express and say, yes, we love this is awesome, but this is not great.
At this outdoor festival, some of the performances began with a reflection on the impacts of residential schools. Montreal in Canada may be emerging to happier days, but the legacy of the last year, pandemic and other pains, is not washed away.
And back onto the streets with David now. You have a lot of experience with crowds, David, so I'm curious what you're noticing about the police presence out there tonight.
Well, certainly very sizable. More than 1,000 officers on the street. I mean, you see folks like this. They've been on bicycle. They've had baton and shield. They've had a very large presence. And while the crowd has largely been moved out, you see those shields and those batons and those helmets now on the sides of their bodies as opposed to out front. They very quickly moved the crowd away from the Bell Center where that game was played, pushed them out, while some, within that crowd, through bottles, through other things, sent fireworks towards the police. Police eventually did respond. When I say eventually, it was pretty quick. Within just minutes of the end of that game, tear gas we watched being used, we watched arrests, we watched people being pushed out. But remember, this is Montreal. There is a certain revelry that goes on in this city. There's also a certain amount of expertise around, let's say, post-game violence, sometimes win or lose, Adrienne.
All right, David Common in Montreal tonight. Thank you, David.